Welcome back to Prime Book Summaries. Today, we're diving deep into a book that's really changed how millions think about self-improvement, and that's Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That's right, Atomic Habits. This book has revolutionized the way we think about habits and personal growth. Clear gives us practical strategies to form good habits, break bad ones, and master those tiny behaviors that lead to, well, truly remarkable results.
Whether you're looking to improve your health, your work, or just your overall life satisfaction, the principles in this book, they can really guide you on a transformative journey.
Imagine if you could improve every part of your life by just 1% each day. What if those tiny, seemingly insignificant changes could actually lead to extraordinary outcomes over time?
In Atomic Habits, James Clear reveals the hidden power of small habits and how they can compound into life-changing results. And this isn't just about willpower or motivation. It's about creating a system that makes good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible.
Stick with us until the end, and we'll unpack practical strategies that can help you achieve your goals, no matter how big or small. Seriously, this stuff is powerful.
If you've ever struggled to make lasting changes or just wondered how successful people build their habits, then this summary is definitely for you. So let's dive in and unlock the power of Atomic Habits together. And let's start with the surprising power of Atomic Habits.
Right, the surprising power of Atomic Habits. Let's take it back to 2003, a really key year for British cycling. For almost a century, British cyclists were underperforming, to say the least.
Dismal is definitely the word. Only one gold medal since 1908 in the Olympics and 0 Tour de France wins. Bike manufacturers didn't even want to sell to them, afraid of damaging their brand.
But then Dave Brailsford was hired. His strategy? What he called the aggregation of marginal gains. Basically, improving every tiny detail by just 1%. Redesigning bike seats, heated overshorts, even rubbing alcohol on tires. Small tweaks everywhere.
And guess what? It worked. In the 2008 Beijing Olympics, they just dominated. World champions, seemingly overnight. It just shows you these small 1% improvements, they seem insignificant on their own, but they really compound over time.
Exactly. Clear explains it mathematically. Improve 1% a day for a year, and you end up 37 times better. Habits are like compound interest for self-improvement. Slow at first, but incredibly powerful over time. The flip side, though, is that bad habits compound negatively too, slowly, invisibly, until it's often too late.
So really, your habits determine if you're moving in the right direction or not. And next up, let's talk about how your habits actually shape your identity and how your identity in turn shapes your habits.
Yeah, how your habits shape your identity, and vice versa. So why are bad habits so hard to break and good habits so difficult to start? Clear says it's often because we're trying to change the wrong things, or our approach is just off.
Most people focus on outcome-based habits, what they want to achieve. But identity-based habits, they focus on who you actually wish to become. It's a big difference.
Think about quitting smoking. Person 1 offers a cigarette, says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Reasonable, right? But it kind of implies they still identify as a smoker deep down.
But person 2 says, "No thanks, I don't smoke." Subtle, but a huge shift in identity. They no longer identify as a smoker. It's about belief change, not just surface-level behavior change.
The more pride you take in an identity, the more motivated you are to maintain habits that are consistent with that identity. Decide who you want to be, and then prove it to yourself with small, consistent habit changes.
Okay, so let's get practical now. How do we actually build better habits? Clear breaks it down into 4 simple steps.
Right, how to build better habits in 4 simple steps. Clear breaks down habit formation into 4 steps. based on the work of psychologist Edward Thorndike and his famous cat experiments. Remember Pavlov's dogs? It's a similar idea.
Right, Thorndike's puzzle boxes. Cats learn to escape by lever or cord. And he found that behaviors with satisfying results get repeated. Clear's 4 laws of behavior change are based on this: cue, craving, response, and reward.
First, cue. This is what triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. It's a signal to start a routine, and it hints at a potential reward. Think about your phone buzzing. That's often a cue for checking social media.
Second is craving. This is the motivational force behind every habit. Without a craving, there's really no action. You don't crave the cigarette itself, you crave the nicotine hit, that feeling of stress relief, or whatever it is for you.
Third, response. This is the actual habit you perform. It can be a thought or an action. Whether a response occurs really depends on your motivation and the effort required. Too much effort, and the habit just won't form.
And finally, reward. This is the end goal of every habit. It satisfies your craving and teaches you which actions are worth remembering for the future. So, the cue notices the reward, the craving wants the reward, and the response achieves the reward. If any of these steps are missing, a habit just won't form.
Understanding this habit loop is absolutely key to designing good habits and, of course, breaking bad ones. So, let's start with the first law. Make it obvious.
The first law, make it obvious. Think about that paramedic story. A woman at a family gathering, she noticed something didn't look right with her father-in-law, and she actually saved his life. That's your brain as a prediction machine, noticing subtle cues.
We all do this, subconsciously. Habits become automatic, and these cues become invisible. But to build new habits, you really need to become aware of your current ones first. And that's where the habit scorecard comes in.
Exactly. Create a list of your daily habits. Good, bad, or neutral. Just score them, no judgment, and no changes just yet. Awareness, that's the crucial first step to any real change.
And to start those new habits, Clear recommends using implementation intentions. Researchers studied exercise habits, and the group that wrote down a very specific plan: I will exercise for 20 minutes on day, at time, in place, had a 91% success rate.
91%. Wow, compared to just 35 to 38% in the other groups. It really shows you motivation alone isn't enough. You need a clear plan, make it obvious when and where you'll actually act, turn those vague intentions into concrete, actionable plans.
And remember, motivation is overrated. Your environment often matters even more. Think about that hospital cafeteria study. Dr. Thorndike rearranged the drink fridges, replaced soda with water at eye level. Soda sales dropped, water sales jumped. No announcements, no motivation talks, just a simple environmental change.
Invisible environmental cues, they really shape our behavior. Think about a plate of cookies in the kitchen. You might just eat them, not necessarily because you're hungry, but just because they're right there. They're visible. So design your environment to promote good habits. Water bottles everywhere if you want to drink more water. Books visibly placed if you want to read more.
And for self-retrieval, it's really not about willpower, it's about smart environment design. Look at that Vietnam War soldier study. 15% heroin addicts in Vietnam, but addiction vanished when they returned to the US. Environment changed, the cues were gone.
Disciplined people aren't superhuman. They're just better at avoiding those tempting situations in the first place. Make the cues for your good habits obvious, and make the cues for your bad habits completely invisible. Environment is often much more powerful than sheer willpower.
Let's move on to the second law of behavior change. Make it attractive.
The second law, make it attractive. So how do you make a habit truly irresistible? Well, think about Ronan Byrne, an engineering student who loved Netflix but knew he needed to exercise more. He connected his stationary bike to Netflix. Netflix only worked if he was pedaling. Temptation bundling in action.
Exactly. Link the action you need to do with the action you want to do. It's temptation bundling. It's the Premack principle. You're way more likely to perform a less desirable activity if it's directly linked to a more desirable one. It's smart psychology.
Pair your habits with something you genuinely enjoy. Love audiobooks but need to work out more? Only listen to your favorite audiobooks while you're exercising. It's immediate gratification combined with long-term benefits. Make those necessary actions more attractive and you're much more likely to stick with them.
And think about the role of family and friends in shaping your habits. We don't actually choose our first habits, we really imitate them. We follow our family, our friends, our culture, wider society. We unknowingly copy those who are close to us. Peer pressure is invisible, but it's incredibly powerful.
Think about that obesity study. If a friend is obese, your chance of becoming obese increases by a staggering 57%. But it works in reverse too, with positive peer pressure. Join a culture where good habits are actively welcomed and encouraged. Surround yourself with people who already have the habits you aspire to develop yourself.
And to deal with those bad habits, Clear talks about how to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. It's about reframing your mindset. Instead of constantly saying, I have to do this, try saying, I get to do this instead.
I have to go to work becomes I get to go to work. It really highlights the benefits, not just the perceived setbacks. Reframing makes even hard habits more enjoyable, or at least more bearable. I have to exercise becomes I get to exercise and improve my health, my energy, my life. It's subtle but incredibly powerful over time.
Moving on to the third law of behavior change, make it easy.
The third law, make it easy. Clear's motto here is walk slowly, but never backward. Habit formation is really a process where a behavior, through consistent repetition, becomes an automatic reflex. Your brain actually changes physically. Musicians, for example, have a demonstrably larger cerebellum, and frequency, not duration, really matters most.
Consistent practice is absolutely key. Make habits easier by focusing on small, manageable steps. Reduce the friction to starting. Want to exercise more? Start with just a few minutes a day rather than committing to a daunting hour-long workout right away. Gradually increase the time as the habit becomes more ingrained.
Think about the law of least effort. Our brains, they're designed to conserve valuable energy whenever possible. We naturally follow the path of least resistance. Every habit, in a sense, is just an obstacle standing between you and your desired outcome. Dieting is an obstacle to being fit. Meditation is an obstacle to inner peace. We love the outcomes, not necessarily the habits themselves.
So, if we're all naturally a bit lazy, how do some people achieve really difficult goals? The solution is to create an environment where doing the right things is as easy as possible, thereby reducing the friction of those obstacles. Meal delivery services, they reduce the friction of grocery shopping. Dating apps reduce the friction of social introductions.
In your own struggle to create better habits, explore ways to reduce the friction associated with good habits and actively increase the friction associated with bad habits. Make your workout clothes easily accessible and ready to wear. Prepare healthy meals in advance to avoid the temptation of junk food.
And to stop procrastinating, Clear recommends using the 2-minute rule. Start something big, even if it feels easy, by taking incredibly small, baby steps. We all tend to try to do too much too quickly, especially when we're initially excited about change. But a really effective strategy is the 2-minute rule, which states that when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do initially.
You'll notice that almost any habit can be scaled down to a 2-minute version. Read before bed every night becomes read just 1 page before bed every night. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes just take out my yoga mat.
The point is to make it easy to start a particular habit. Whether you meditate for just 1 minute, read a single page, fold just one piece of clothing, or do anything similarly small, just consciously start doing something that feels right. It's a surprisingly powerful strategy. People often think reading just one page of a book daily is insignificant, but the real point isn't how much you read, it's that you are doing it consistently at all.
Once you start, those first 2 minutes become a ritual that naturally leads into a larger routine. It's an ideal way to become proficient in any difficult skill. Once a habit is firmly established, there will come a point where you perform the action routinely, almost perfectly. You can then mix the 2-minute rule with habit shaping techniques to ensure your habit actually helps you achieve your ultimate goal.
After establishing a habit, gradually take it to intermediate steps and repeat the process until you become a genuine expert. Only then should you move to the next level of challenge. Eventually, you'll find that the habit you initially wanted to build has become an integral part of your personality.
And finally, how to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible.
How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Think about Victor Hugo, the French writer, struggling with an impossible deadline. He gave away all his clothes to his assistant, locking himself in, and finally wrote The Hunchback of Notre Dame ahead of deadline. Environment designed to make good habits inevitable and those bad habits practically impossible.
Remove temptations. Hugo removed his clothes. Remove junk food from your house. Log out of social media accounts. Increase friction for bad habits, decrease friction for good ones. Keep workout clothes out. Make books visibly accessible. And make public commitments for extra accountability.
Oh, and that brings us to the fourth and final law of behavior change: make it satisfying.
The fourth law, make it satisfying. Clear calls this the cardinal rule of behavior change. Rewarded behaviors get repeated, punished behaviors get actively avoided. Think about chewing gum, bland resins initially, then flavored in 1891, became enjoyable, and the habit really took off.
Seek immediate satisfaction. Bad habits, instant pleasure, long-term pain. Good habits, initial challenge, long-term benefit. The end of a behavior really should be satisfying to reinforce it.
Track your progress? Habit tracking, like Benjamin Franklin's Virtue Booklet, makes habits obvious, attractive, and satisfying. Use a journal, an app, set clear goals, track consistently, celebrate those small wins, and regularly review your progress.
And consider an accountability partner. Repeat enjoyable experiences, avoid painful ones. Pain is a really effective teacher. Accountability partner creates immediate feedback, extra motivation, consistency, support, and honest evaluation. Choose wisely, set clear expectations, schedule regular check-ins, and be completely honest with each other.
And for those advanced tactics, how to go from being merely good to being truly great. Habits inevitably become routine, sometimes boring. You have to push through that boredom. That's where real growth happens. Continuous improvement, self-awareness, deliberate practice, and actively seeking feedback are all crucial. Amateurs quit when bored, but professionals push right through it.
Conclusion: Atomic Habits, it's really a comprehensive guide to transforming your habits. The 4 laws of behavior change: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. Small incremental changes, those 1% improvements, they really compound over time. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Your environment and social circles are absolutely crucial, and self-awareness and deliberate practice are key for true mastery. Start small and stay consistent.
Success, it's a series of small, consistent actions, not one monumental event. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your efforts compound into truly extraordinary results.
Thank you for listening to this summary of Atomic Habits by James Clear. We really hope you found these insights helpful. Please consider subscribing to our channel and sharing this episode with your friends and family. Your support really helps us bring more content like this to you. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know which habits you're planning to build or change using the principles from Atomic Habits. And stay tuned for more summaries coming soon.
Until next time, keep striving for progress, not perfection, and watch your efforts compound into extraordinary results. Thank you and take care.